Alright, welcome back to a new episode of Friday Night Comics. As promised, this week I'm going to focus on some Bronze Age, but raw, not graded. And these are key books, but they're not the huge keys that I think would justify getting them graded rather than just buying them like this. But having said all that, this first one I'm going to show might fall into that category, and it's Star Wars #1 from Marvel. Now, this is kind of a big book from that era, but I have a near run of this, and I prefer to have this one raw, just so I keep it in the long box or the short box with the rest of them. This would probably grade out at least an 8, and I'm thinking more like an 8.5, maybe a 9. And this is Marvel Star Wars. So this is probably the most expensive non-graded book that I own, I think. That's a pretty safe bet there. So anyway, moving on. First up, or next up, would be this copy of The Inhumans #1. Now, you've seen these first few before that I'm going to show in older Friday Night Comics videos, but this, again, is Bronze Age keys theme, so I wanted to show this. And again, not huge money. Their first appearance was in Fantastic Four number 48, which I own. And this is the first time they had their own series, and I think this is 1975, I think, if I recall correctly. Next up, picked this up a long time ago before the hype train for the movie started rolling. This is Doctor Strange, #1 of his ongoing series. I think it's from 1974, and this series ran for like 150 or so issues, I think. I do have a Silver Age Doctor Strange, and I think it was when Strange Tales became Doctor Strange 169 or some shit like that. Anyway, it's from the Silver Age, so you're not going to see it in this video. But this is #1 from the Bronze Age. And again, it's seen some uptick in value because there is a movie coming out next month, I believe. I think it's next month. Anyway, moving on. Here's my copy of The Invaders #1, and this is probably a 9.2. Doctor Strange is probably 8.59, and Humans is, I think it's a 9.2. So, again, I try to shoot higher because these books aren't as expensive as the graded ones that I have. I mean, I couldn't afford 9.0s or higher of Hulk 181 or Amazing Spider-Man 129. So, I decided to keep those graded books at a fixed 8 criteria for affordability, but also still, look pretty good. So next up is this loser superhero team called the Champions. And this was a short-lived, I think this only ran about 17 or so issues. And this featured Hercules, Black Widow, Angel, Ghost Rider, and Iceman. And I believe they were a West Coast team of heroes. I could be wrong. So it's odd, I buy current books. All my current books that I read are DC, Batman, Superman, Justice League, that sort of thing. I only buy Marvel, Star Wars. Yet all my older comics that I collect tend to be Marvel. So go figure. All right, up next is probably my highest grade Bronze Age copy of anything that I own. And this is the first of 3 Jack Kirby covers in a row here. So it's got some great artwork, to say the least. And it is #1 of Devil Dinosaur, featuring Moon Boy, the first human. How about that? I don't know how long this book ran. I don't think very long at all. I recall seeing ads for this book when I used to read the old Marvel Star Wars from around the same time. I just recall seeing this being advertised in the other comic books. So they're really trying to hype this one up, and I don't think it did very well, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think I saw him pop up recently somewhere in the Marvel Universe. Maybe just reading a message board or something. Again, I don't read current Marvel books, so I don't know what's going on in that whole thing, but Devil Dinosaur, I think, might actually be around today. I'm not sure. Up next, another Jack Kirby cover. This one is #1 of The Eternals. Also high grade, but not as nice as this one. This is, again, 9.6 probably. This one's more like a 9.4, maybe 9.2 at worst, but again, really nice, sharp copy here of The Eternals, When Gods Walked the Earth. And then I have a copy of, again, this is Jack Kirby, Machine Man #1, also in very high grade. So pretty inexpensive books. I mean, these are now, 40 odd years old, give or take, and these high grade copies could be had for about $20. some cases less. So, you know, you can pick up 40-year-old comic book key books for a pretty reasonable price. And God knows what happens when these things become television series or show up in a movie, or if someone even farts out their name in a movie, it jacks the price up the book. So you never know. This next one here, I think, I thought I heard rumblings, and maybe I didn't hear it correctly, but Rom the Space Knight may show up in Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know where I read that, but maybe I just made that up. So this is Rom #1 from, I believe, 1979. And again, another high-grade copy here. Really nice. All right, so the last two, actually one you've seen, one you haven't. First up is Howard the Duck #1. Another cult classic character who did show up in the last Guardians movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, in the closing credits, if I recall, or the closing whatever bonus scene they do at the end there. So who knows what that means for this guy, but certainly an odd character in the Marvel Universe. This is #1. His first appearance was in a few years prior in like Marvel something with Man-Thing. I don't know if it was Man-Thing's ongoing series or it was like a Marvel Spotlight or one of those books, but that's his very first appearance. This is his first solo title, first and only for that matter. Unless he had a subsequent, again, I don't know what's going on with Marvel, so he may have had his own series later on after the Bronze Age, but it's the first one from that era for him. And then lastly, I have a copy of, I'm looking this one over, this one's probably a 9.0, and it is The Man Called Nova #1, Richard Rider. Now, you know, the name Dick is short for Richard, so this guy's name is Dick Rider. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but Dick Rider, I believe, just returned to the Marvel Universe. I read that somewhere. God, where the hell am I even getting my comic news from? Maybe the CGC message boards, I don't fucking know. But anyhow, I think this particular incarnation of the character is back in the Marvel Universe, or coming back, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think we saw a hint of this whole, not this guy in particular, but the Nova Corps was in Guardians of the Galaxy. So who knows what that means, but wouldn't be surprised. You know, Hollywood doesn't have very, very good new ideas, you know, the last couple of years, so they just basically take pre-existing ideas like comic book stuff and things like that and make sequels of stuff that, you know, was popular, and so there's a whole lot of material out there to be made into TV shows or movies. But that's what I have for you this week. Again, these are raw Bronze Age keys. You know, pretty, not super expensive. I guess it's all relative, right? But I'm talking maybe anywhere from $15 to $30, you know, in high grade for these books. The only outlier being my copy of Marvel Star Wars #1. Like I said, you know, that's raw because I just want to keep it with the rest of my Marvel Star Wars, and which is another ongoing project for me to eventually finish that run. I need like 9 or 10 issues to finish off that run. God knows when I'll get to it. But anyhow, thanks for watching, and I'll talk at you later.